Hello, this is Gretchen the Verdant Crafter. Today I'm going to show you 10 cards I made using the Simon Says Stamp December 2017 card kit. This card kit was called Milk and Cookies. Here are the cards that I made with this kit. I actually made 13, but I only filmed 10 of them. So first we're going to look at what came in the kit. You got a wonderful mint, and you get some fantastic cardstock. So you got these 3 colors. This tonic silver screen, tropical tide, and candy floss glitter cardstock. You also got 1 sheet of Simon Says Stamp ivory cardstock and 1 sheet of Nina 110 pound Desert Storm cardstock. There is a fantastic stamp set called Christmas Squad, which matches the Milk and Cookies paper from Doodlebug. We got a rose gold mini ink pad from Delicata. Aren't these fantastic? I love those sequins. Here's the paper that I'm flipping through. It is from Doodlebug and it's the Milk and Cookies collection. You could also see that we got some Milk and Cookies sprinkles from Doodlebug. They perfectly match the paper, and actually in some cases I just took the sticker off and put it right over the paper because it was the same size. So it was, like glossy accents without the weight. I love that paper. It's so beautiful. This paper is so much fun, and it's got a lot of pink, but it definitely works. I created some really fun cards. The cut apart sheets that we all love, that are so perfect for doing your card with, for decorating, for having sentiments. That paper, I love those candies. Anyway, I love the look of them. And of course, you know that usually there's at least one 6x6 piece that is really a scene altogether. So first I'm showing you how I'm stamping these. I already put all of the images into my MISTI. I stamped them with some Hero Arts Intense Black ink, and I colored them with my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. Now I'm putting them back into my MISTI, and I haven't moved the stamps at all. I'm using my VersaFine ink and I'm stamping on top of it. This is just going to darken up those lines and make them a little bit more bold and just really dark black. Much more stark than the Hero Arts Intense Black ink. Here I'm holding up the 2 side by side, and I did that with all of them, but I'm not showing you. For my first card, I'm creating a larger card. It's 5 7/8 by 5 7/8, I believe. So I am using the whole 6x6 paper. I trimmed it down a little already, and I'm just trimming it down a little bit more. Not an exact amount on each side, but enough so that it's pretty much the same length on each side, or width. You can see there it wasn't perfect. So I am going to glue that onto my cover sheet, and there you can see that the card base is actually not square. It's not. I should have made my own. So I'm going to use a trimmer to just trim that little piece off. And there I'm just trimming to make sure that we have a really clean, straight edge. Okay. So I am thinking about stamping something with the stamp set. You can see there I have my main scene glued down. I'm trimming up one of the cut apart sheets with my scissors. I want to make sure that I don't have any little edges showing and that it's square. And I'm playing with putting it on the front, especially popping it up with a little bit of foam tape. But in the end, I end up putting it inside because I stamped my sentiment crooked. There you can see I stamped it crooked. So I am just gluing down the sentiment from the cut apart strip in the middle. Now I am using glossy accents to go over all of the little baubles on the wreath and on the tree. I also use, and the star, some, I believe it was a Wink of Stella brush. It might have been a Spectrum Noir sparkle brush to go over the white fur on the hat, the little pom-pom on the end for Santa and for the little cat. This was a very playful kit to work with. I think with the stamp set particularly, you could probably make some pretty more elegant cards, but the paper and the sprinkles definitely lent themselves for being playful. So this is one of the cut aparts, and I am just going to trim around it. I'm trying to leave a very small blue border. There you can see that I have decided to use the paper with the Santas. I cut that down to be 4 inches by 5¼ inches. That will leave a 1/4 of an inch border all around. And this is one of the extra pieces of paper. I actually think it's the opposite side from that paper. I fishtailed the end of that, and I am just going to put it right on top of the Santas. I did decide that I wanted to pop it up with foam tape, which added a little bit more dimension, but not too much dimension. I am going to turn up the edges a little bit more to give it a little bit more movement, and I believe that I'm going to use glue to pop down that little cut apart piece. I want to make sure those little dinky ends don't get caught on anyone's hands, that they're perfectly stuck down. Just holding my hand there to make sure it sticks, and I held it there a little bit too long because it is just a teeny tiny little bit crooked, and I couldn't get it to move. But from a distance, if you're not looking for it, it's not going to be crooked. There I'm using some Wink of Stella on the white parts of random Santas. And later on, I am going to come in with glossy accents 3 times. So I'm going to triple layer the glossy accents on the candy cane. It created a lot of dimension that is hard to see on the video. This video, I used tons of the Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pen and tons of glossy accents. I just layered on the glossy accents. So I'd put on a layer and the next, a few hours later, once it was dried, add another layer. The next morning I'd add, afternoon, another layer. And it got great dimension. We are on card number 3. This really plays up the milk and cookies part. I, for whatever reason, ended up using my Xyron sticker maker a lot for these small pieces. You may notice that I'm using a lot of glue. I have not quite, but almost run out of tape runner, and I'm just trying to put off buying more till I use up more of my glue and other things that I already have. There, I'm just lining it up with my grid paper, and I believe it says milk and cookies. I did actually cut that strip crooked, but it's more crooked at the end with the milk that was just cut off rather than the other end. I am playing with putting some of the cookies on there that are the sprinkles, and I decided not to, but I do come in with the glossy accents over the heart, those 3 little hearts, and over the milk glass. I wanted to use those sprinkles, but I didn't feel like they just quite worked. There, I'm sort of testing my glossy accents to make sure it works, and now I'm just very carefully outlining my image and filling it in. I do have a quilling tip on that. I think it makes it a lot easier to use, and I feel like I can control it better and make sure it goes where I want it, not somewhere else. Now that I have glossy accents on that, I am going to put it on a white A2 card base. Oh, I decided that I wanted something else along the edge of that little sentiment strip. So right now I have some peel-offs that I've purchased from the Love from Lizzie shop. She's a UK entrepreneur, and I decided that I wanted to use, or the ones that would work best with this were the pink ones. So I'm just peeling off the thinnest one. I'm laying it along the edge. I'm cutting it a little larger and I'm tucking it under. So here I have my Picked Raspberry Distress ink, or maybe it's Worn Lipstick, whatever it said on the screen. And I'm stamping Merry Christmas in the middle. It's the same color as the paper and those peel-offs, so I think it works really well, even though it's pink. The one thing I might do differently is use a corner chomper to round the edges on the bottom. Now that I'm looking at it, I think that would look really nice. We are on card number 4. I am going to use a Ranger embossing pen on the white parts of the hats, and I'm going to use some puffy up embossing powder from Wow. I'm not sure what it's called. I have actually a couple different containers of it for various reasons. You know, one came in a kit, one I bought. I think another came in a kit. So there, I'm putting those on, and I'm going to heat set them. Now we are playing with the card. So I have that beautiful pink background. I just love it. And I'm adding some brown to the bottom to ground my scene. I wasn't sure exactly how much I wanted, so I didn't pre-cut the brown. I'm just making sure that the brown is straight, and I'm going to use my scissors to trim off the excess. I am using the Xyron sticker maker a lot in this video to put down the smaller pieces of paper and to put down some of my images, the ones that I want to be flat. You can see that I'm doing Santa now, and I think that I popped the 2 critters up with foam tape. When you are using a Xyron sticker maker or whatever sticker maker, make sure you run a bone folder or something along the edges. This will help seal the adhesive where it should be, so you don't get lots of strings when you're removing that piece. Aren't those little guys cute? I just love the little cat and how its head is tipped. Here I am stamping, I believe, Merry Christmas from our squad to yours. I am going to white heat emboss that with some Wow Bright White opaque embossing powder. That is the embossing powder that I use for all of the embossing except for the fluffy snow for the edges of the hats and so forth. You can see I've cut my strip, and now I have decided to put it down on the bottom. On the back, just to make it stick, I use the Xyron sticker maker again. Now I'm using the White Blizzard Nuvo drops. These are fantastic. They dry clear and they have sparkles in them. I just love these. And because I was so obsessed with glossy accents, I probably could have come back and layered more of those Nuvo drops, but on top of them I did glossy accents. The one thing that I don't really like, I'm just pushing down the whole thing to make sure it sticks because I've glued it down onto my card base after I put the Nuvo drops on, is that the White Blizzard Nuvo drops have a slight texture. They're not super glossy when they dry, but they're so fantastic that that doesn't really matter. We are on card number 5 with one of my favorite papers. I think last year when Simon Says Stamp had their December card kit and it had Doodlebug, they had a similar paper and I loved it then too. So I have used a circle die to cut out the brick, and I just used my scissors to cut the tree out. That happens to be one of the cut aparts. I've glued it down. Well, you can see I glued it down onto the brick and then I used foam tape to pop it up. And I'm using the cut apart that says Happy Holidays. Now I'm just gluing that down onto my card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I make these card bases from the Nina Solar White 110 cardstock. They're super heavyweight and I really like how it works. I know everyone swears there I'm using the glossy accents, by using Bristol Smooth cardstock for blending, but I found that it works pretty good on this cardstock too. Not as well, but it works pretty good. And I've been happy with what I've gotten for the most part. Okay, we are in card number 6. There I have some glue on what's going to be a center panel. And you can see on the side that I have another one of those cut aparts, and I used my corner chopper to round the edges. That way the edges of the cut apart match the edge of the image inside. I used my scissors to trim off the excess from that paper. And now I'm going to use some peel-offs from Love from Lizzie to help it stand out a little better and add a little bit more interest. These are so easy to use, and I think they add a really nice classic touch without being too much. I'm just holding my hand on that to make sure everything dries straight because I am using glue, and I am using the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen to go all over that plum pudding, whatever it's called, the berries, the hearts. I'm using some foam tape to pop that up, and I'm putting it at the top 2/3-ish of the card. Those are the two sentiments I thought about using. Hello, sweetheart, or something like that. You take the cake. That's that one, I believe. I'm trimming that up, and I'm going to use a small piece of foam tape to pop it up. And there, a cat very kindly contributed a piece of hair which was stuck under the foam tape. I had a little bit of trouble getting this sentiment straight, so I do use a T-square ruler, and I've put some tape runner on the back of Have a Sweet Christmas, and I am just going to line that up on the inside of the card using another T-square ruler and pop it down. I didn't want to use wet glue for that one because I didn't want to accidentally close the card, have it squish out, and then have it be stuck. Here I am using some of the little sprinkles that came in the kit. I am putting the red hearts over the red hearts, and I'm going to put the pink heart over the pink heart. And later on, in my rush to glossy accent layer everything, I do layer glossy accents over that. Although, again, that was always sort of a side step, something I did while I was waiting for other cards to dry, while I was waiting for the camera battery to charge. So I don't show you layering the glossy accents multiple times. There, I'm adding some more Spectrum Noir sparkle marker, and this time I'm just going over everything. Before I skipped the cake and just did the frosting, the berries, and the base. And now I am adding glossy accent to the berries and the frosting. And I'm just burping my thing to make sure that it's clear. We are on card number 7. I put some glue down on that paper, and I'm gluing it onto my front. I do wish that I hadn't done that. I find that it's easier to build my card before I add it to my card base, but oh well. Here I'm just adding a little banner from another green that was in the kit. That's probably 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm adding some foam tape to the back of that cut apart, and I am just putting it onto that little belt. Now I'm adding one of the sprinkles. It's the gingerbread guy. He's so cute. I love him. I decided at first that I was going to use the rock candy stickles. I think that's what it was called. But then later I decided to add some glass glitter. This is German glass glitter. My mom got it for me one time when she was shopping, and I think it's so pretty. I do love gumdrops, how they have that beautiful sugary, glittery texture. So that's what they ended up drawing with. Here I used some tape to put at the edge of this, and I'm not sure what it says, but it says something in holiday greetings. And I'm trimming that off with my scissors. Later on top of that glass glitter, I do actually layer on some glossy accents, partially because I wanted to make sure that glass glitter stayed put, and partially because I was obsessed. It actually looks really good because the glossy accents dipped in between the layers or the pieces of glitter, so it still has that texture, but it's very safe. Now, this is one of the pieces of paper that had a calendar on it, and I loved it. I am actually sort of copying a card that Vicky, the amazing person from Greece who has the blog Clips and Cuts, or Cuts and Clips, I'm sorry, I don't remember, made, I think, last October or maybe November for her Simon Says Stamp card kit. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm copying a card that Vicky made. Or rather, I'm being inspired by a card that she made. So I have cut a piece from the paper, and I am very carefully using my craft knife to cut open on 3 sides individual windows. And I'm not even sure what that is. I'm using a tool to sort of score along the edge, and then my Teflon bone folder to fold it back. And this card I had a lot of trouble with because I kept making silly mistakes. First, I decided that I was going to use my white card base, so I get it out. I open up all those windows and I trace it. Here, I'm just using a hole punch to punch tiny little holes at the edge so they're a little easier to pop open. I put some foam tape at the back of that. In this case, I think I'm using Doris foam strips. I wanted to be able to put foam at the very edge, and those are so thin that I was able to. Now I'm deciding that I want to use a green card base, so I am going to trace windows through this. Unfortunately, I have my card base upside down, which thankfully I do realize, but not right away. I am going to stamp Merry Christmas in one of the holes. To make sure that it fits and you can easily read it, I am going to stamp it crooked, just like that. I'm using Versamark ink, and my Wow Bright White Opaque Embossing Powder. And there you can see that at the top left corner, you're going to see that there's a watermark Merry Christmas upside down. That's the original one. The new one is on the bottom right. Now I'm putting one of the little gingerbread men and then the 2, oh my goodness, candy canes as a little heart. I'm erasing my squares so no one can see them. I'm going to peel off the foam tape and I'm going to pop that right on. And no one's ever going to know that there were mistakes made. I am also going to use my Wink of Stella glitter brush on a bunch of different parts, and I'm going to use glossy accents liberally, although I'm not going to make you watch me put glossy accents on everything. Here I'm thinking about stamping something inside, but I decided that the Merry Christmas in one of the little windows was more than enough. I think this card would be really fun to send to someone who has kids, or to, a grandchild, to a niece, to a nephew, to someone who's at least young at heart who will play with it. There, I'm just burping it. One of the pieces that I colored, I didn't stamp quite correctly. Basically, I didn't have it in the corner of my Misty, so when I double stamped it with the VersaFine ink, it was off. You can see that piece up at the top. I'm just using it as a scrap to test my little colors with. Card number 9, I really loved this paper. So I'm using Stampin' Up's square, stackable squares, and I cut apart the calendar pieces for 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, and 20. There I'm using some glue to put down one of my favorite papers, but it was just too busy. And this paper has polka dots and it's white. I put it under a heavy object, and now I'm going to put foam tape at the back of all of those little squares. I have my sentiment that's popped up with foam tape. I'm going to put that towards the bottom, and you're going to see that I layer up all of my other little calendar pieces towards the middle. I do put my 2 in the middle on first, and I base where the others are based upon their location. I was afraid that if I put the top ones on first, I would put them too far up, and if I put the bottom ones on first, I would put them too far down. We are, of course, going to add glossy accents and Wink of Stella in the opposite order, or Wink of Spectrum Noir Sparkle Marker. Oh my goodness, it is definitely Friday. It's been a long week. I hope that everyone has had a great week, especially since Thanksgiving is done. I hope you've had a chance to relax. And I hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving. There, I'm using some tweezers to hold that and make sure it gets where I want, not cockeyed. I think this is a really cute little card. I think it would be even cuter if you did more days, so you had 3 wide by 4 tall, but it definitely works. Now we are on our last card, card number 10. I'm adding glue to the back of this colored paper. I love those stripes, but I felt like the hearts worked better. And this is actually one of those times where I cover the whole card base. I'm building a scene. I have this one tiny little piece of brown. I wished I had more brown, but I don't. So I put that at the bottom to try and ground the scene. It wasn't enough, so now I'm going to add in these snowflakes. I like the teal color. It's a very sweet teal. It definitely goes well with the pink. I view that sort of as maybe the baseboard to the ground, but I'm not treating it like baseboard. I'm putting things right on it. There is one of the trees that I colored up, and now we have Santa and Mrs. Claus, and we are going to add the little dog with foam tape and the sentiment from our squad to yours. I have a lot of people who really like dogs, so definitely the dog made more of a appearance for me. I like the cat, and I'm definitely a cat person, but I'm friends with more dog people. So you gotta respect the dog people. Okay, I have used my anti-static powder tool, and now I'm just stamping from our squad to yours, Merry Christmas, with Versamark ink. I'm going to use the Wow Bright White Opaque Embossing Powder, heat set that, and then I decided that I didn't like it against the background. With all of those hearts, I felt like it got a little lost. So I'm going to put this strip of green up there and layer the sentiment on top. I do wish I had put that strip over more so it was a little longer. It wasn't as long as the sentiment. And I also wish that I had sort of slanted the edge. I know that MFT has a great slanted sentiments die where it slants the edge and adds a little bit of embossed detail. I'm using some Dries foam strips to pop this up to add a little bit more dimension. And there we go. I am also going to put Happy Holidays, I believe that's the sentiment. Nope, Merry Christmas on the inside. And of course, we're going to add some Wink of Stella, Spectrum Noir, and some Nouveau drops. Those Nouveau drops happen to be autumn red. They're glossy, but they have sort of a pearlized finish, and I really like their color. I also add some glossy accents to the very top of the tree with the star. I don't show you, but I do glossy accent the tag on the little dog and Santa's buckle. Oh, never mind, I do show you. And there we go. These are what I have left over. I never used the glitter paper. I didn't use the paper that came in the kit. I cut it apart to use it and didn't. Oops. We have the stamp set. We have a bunch of sprinkles. That's the paper I have left. The Delicata Rose Gold ink, the colorful confetti from Simon Says Stamp. I loved that. And those pieces that I'd cut apart and colored, but never ended up using. So this is card number 1. You can see that it has some great dimension because I did add at least 3, maybe 4 layers of the glossy accents. Just make sure it's dry before you add another layer. And here is card number 2. I think this is a really fun card. It's got tons of Santas, but it's so cute. Milk and cookies, again, tons of glossy accents. These guys, from our squad to yours, Merry Christmas. You take the cake, have a sweet Christmas. Happy holidays. December 25th. And again, I used the weird glass glitter for those. And from our squad to yours, Merry Christmas. This little advent calendar-ish one. It's so sweet. Although I had trouble opening that one, as you can see. This card that I actually ended up putting some of the sprinkles on, but I don't think I showed you because that was an afterthought. These 3 cards I made later with the scraps that I had left over. So I had a piece of paper, I put double-sided tape on it, I laid these pieces of paper on it, and then I have some flakes of silver foil that I just sort of rubbed into the cracks wherever it showed. Cut that to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches and mounted it on a white card base. These are my cards. I want to thank you for watching. I hope that I inspired you, and I hope that you have some great ideas. If you have this kit, I hope that you enjoy. If you don't, I hope that you still enjoy. And I hope that you all have a great holiday season. Thanks. Bye.